News at 6 starts now.
Against the people that make up stories and make up sources.
The Trump administration waging war on the media, banning several news organizations from a White House briefing today. Now the heated reactions coming from local journalists.
I was kind of outraged because as a journalist, we should be the ones covering these things. I mean, that's what a press briefing is for.
Good evening. I'm Julie Hayner.
And I'm Frank Somerville. President Donald Trump got a hero's welcome in Maryland today with a rousing speech to the annual Conservative Political Action Conference. The president promised to fight illegal immigration, rebuild the military, and repeal and replace Obamacare. He also used the speech to escalate his attacks on the news media.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake. A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are. They are the enemy of the people. Because they have no sources, they just make them up when there are none.
Following the speech, several prominent news organizations were blocked from a scheduled briefing with the White House press secretary.
KTVU's Christina Rendon is in our newsroom now. She spent the afternoon at UC Berkeley discussing this dust-up with journalism students there. Christina.
Well, Julie, Frank, UC grad students say the decision to handpick organizations escalates the rocky relationship between the press and the Trump administration. And some of the news outlets blocked from today's briefing are calling it an unprecedented act of retaliation.
It's a really interesting time to be a journalist and to want to be a journalist.
At UC Berkeley's Graduate School of Journalism, word of media outlets being excluded from a press scandal at the White House on Friday has students talking.
I think it's pretty consistent with the tactics he's been following.
I was kind of outraged because as a journalist, we should be the ones covering these things.
CNN, the New York Times, and Politico were among those shut out of the meeting in Press Secretary Sean Spicer's office. Breitbart News and the Washington Times were let in, along with NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox News. This is audio from the briefing.
This afternoon, he's meeting with Governor Kasich. The president of Peru, as I mentioned yesterday, will be swinging by. Over the weekend, the president's going to be continuing to work on his joint address.
Reporters from the Associated Press, Time Magazine, and USA Today chose not to attend in protest.
I think that's absolutely the right attitude for them to take, and I applaud those reporters.
This standoff, this food fight going on between the Trump White House and the media is enormously beneficial to both sides. Ratings are up for the media, and Trump gets enormous, rapturous receptions when he goes before conservative audiences.
Ed Wasserman, the graduate school's dean, says the standoff may not be good for the public if reporting resources focus on the squabble and are diverted away from the impact of Trump's policies.
So he's using this as a way to prepare to discredit reports that may very well be strongly reported and of great public significance.
Students say the administration's actions strengthens their resolve to pursue a career in journalism.
It's a new era, it's a new time, and it's a time where journalism has an opportunity to prove itself worthy to the American people.
The White House spokeswoman responded to all of this by saying the briefing was for poll reporters, so everyone was represented, but they also decided to invite some additional reporters. Frank, Julie.
Christina Rendon in our newsroom tonight. Christina, thank you.
And joining us now for perspective is USF political science professor James Taylor. So what do you think about all of this? Do you think inviting some news organizations and excluding others is a form of censorship?
Well, I wouldn't call it censorship. I would say it's sort of being very selective in terms of how you sort of send out the message you want to convey. The president excluded about 3 or 4 national chains and major news outlets, but allowed about 10 others in. And so the significant outlets, you know, the New York Times and others, CNN and Politico and others, that's what I think is alarming, is that it was those with a particular liberal base and bias that the president wants to exclude. And that is, I think, problematic in terms of being the president to all people and messaging to all people.
James, this just seems so classic to me. If you don't like the message, you attack the messenger.
Yeah.
And when he says things like the media is the enemy of the people, and he says fake news over and over and over and over, I heard a journalism professor, we had him on our 4 o'clock broadcast, who was saying that in his opinion, this is dangerous for our democracy.
It is, because it does, the president has a bully